As we all know, everyone around the world is being impacted by climate change, but what we really need to know is what to expect in New Jersey. This was the main focus when developing the report. As you all know, New Jersey is a highly developed coastal state where 50% of our population lives in the coastal area and is currently at risk to coastal hazards like sea level rise and storm surge. This risk will only increase as sea levels continue to rise. And sea level rise isn't the only hazard New Jersey needs to be concerned about as our climate changes. We're also at risk to impacts from increases in temperature and precipitation. What's of particular concern is that temperatures and sea levels are rising faster in New Jersey than elsewhere. Because of this, it's even more important that we understand what changes to expect and when they'll occur, because all of these changes will threaten our environments, habitats, and wildlife, and impact our way of life, including our economy and public health. These reasons are why we need to understand what the science says about how New Jersey will be impacted, so we have a strong foundation from which we can begin to respond. So I'm going to give you an overview of some of the key messages that will be included in the report. So let's start with temperature. New Jersey has temperature records back to 1895, and we know our average temperature has already increased by 3.5 degrees Fahrenheit. How much our temperature increases from this point forward depends on the amount of greenhouse gases that are emitted globally. However, before 2050, the increase in temperature we can expect is about the same regardless of the emission scenario. That's because any increase in temperature we see between now and then is based on past emissions. Looking forward, by 2050, we expect the temperature in New Jersey to increase by 4.1 to 5.7 degrees compared to the end of last century. By 2080, temperatures will increase even more. As you see from the table on the screen, temperatures could increase by almost 10 degrees in as little as 40 years from now. Let's think about that. Imagine the hottest days from last summer and add about 10 degrees on top of that temperature. And this doesn't account for changes in humidity, which we all know can make things feel so much hotter. This means our populations and ecosystems will have to cope with more extreme temperatures more often, and heat waves will impact larger areas more often and for longer periods of time. Also, we can expect increases in temperature to reduce New Jersey's agricultural yields and power plant efficiency, increase energy use, and will have negative effects on people's health. As temperatures rise, we'll also see changes in the precipitation patterns that we're used to. Over the past 10 years, we've already seen changes, and the amount of annual precipitation we received has increased by almost 8%. By 2050, the increase will be 4 to 11% over the average amounts of precipitation from the end of last century. What's really important to know about precipitation is that yes, the amount of precipitation we're going to see over an entire year will increase slightly, but the biggest change we can expect is how we receive that precipitation. We can expect more intense rain events, meaning storms will drop large amounts of rain over shorter periods of time. Some of you may already feel like we're experiencing events just like this, and as you can imagine, more extreme events will mean more changes and more chances of flooding to occur. And between these extreme events, there will be longer periods when it's dry. These dry periods might not technically be droughts, but will impact our communities, crops, and ecosystems in a very similar way. These dry periods will also be more severely felt because they'll occur at the same time as extreme high temperatures. Now on to sea level rise. As I'm sure you're aware, sea level rise is going to greatly impact New Jersey and all its communities, infrastructure, and resources that are located in low-lying coastal areas. As with temperature, how much sea level rise we experience depends on the amount of greenhouse gases that are emitted globally. To fully understand sea level rise projections for New Jersey, we asked Rutgers to update the Science and Technical Advisory Panel report, which was done this past October. The table I'm showing is based on data in that report for a moderate emissions scenario. What is expected for New Jersey is that by 2050, it's most likely that we'll experience at least 0.9 to 2.1 feet of sea level rise. By 2070, 1.4 to 3.1 feet is most likely to occur, and by 2100, 2 to 5.2 feet. One way DEP is already using this information is that it's informing development of guidance for how our program should prepare for sea level rise based on the risk tolerance of projects, activities, and assets that we oversee. Sea level rise will impact New Jersey through both storm surges and through sunny day flooding. We can expect to experience more intense storms as temperatures get hotter, and with these storms will come more impactful storm surges that will flood larger areas of land as the base sea levels continue to get higher. But it's not just storm surge that we need to be concerned about. Our coastal communities are already experiencing sunny day flooding. I'm sure many of you have witnessed flooding in roadways and coastal areas when it's a beautiful sunny day and there's no storm clouds in sight. This flooding happens because the ocean level is higher than that roadway or higher than the stormwater outfall and floods the street. As sea levels rise, this type of flooding will occur more often as more of our infrastructure gets overwhelmed. For just one example, we can look to Atlantic City. In 1950, flooding from tides occurred an average of less than once per year. Between 2007 and 2016, Atlantic City experienced an average of 8 occurrences per year. By 2100, there's a 95% chance that Atlantic City will experience sunny day flooding 95 times per year, and a 50% chance it will happen 355 times per year. Hearing these statistics makes it clear why it's so necessary for the state to develop strategies to address not only sea level rise, but the other climate change impacts I've mentioned so far.